What's up, guys? I'm BTC. The Overwatch League kicked off with quite a bit of success yesterday. There have been a lot of improvements to the viewing experience for the games, but there is still one gigantic, glaring problem with the league that Blizzard simply refuses to address. Ever since the very first tournaments during the beta, Overwatch eSports has had a pretty rough time. There have been a lot of problems plaguing the game just in an eSports viewer experience. A lot of it had to do with the fact that the game simply wasn't built to be viewed from a spectator point of view. So the camera people that were trying to follow the action had very few tools that they could utilize in order to actually show the viewer what they needed to see. So oftentimes what ended up happening is the cameras would kind of slide out of position, they would just kind of like stutter as they're moving around, or maybe they would just completely miss the important thing that was supposed to be going on. A lot of that has been improved, although there is still a little bit of improvement that needs to be made. It is significantly better than what it was. Another pretty big problem was that in many of these tournaments, both teams were forced to use the default skins. So you would have the attacking and the defending teams using characters that looked exactly the same. And the whole red-blue attack-defend thing was all kind of messed up, and therefore it was even more confusing with the outlines. For example, you might see a red outline on a Reinhardt and think that he's on the attacking team, but no, this is actually the second round, and therefore the red team is defending, and for the casual viewer, it was just a confusing experience. So those things, plus other stuff like the overlay, the user interface, all that sort of stuff, has been fixed and improved, so credit where it's due. I wanted to kind of start this out with some good stuff that Blizzard has changed for the spectating experience for the Overwatch League. But now we get into that glaring problem that they just seem to want to ignore. Hero balance. There is none. That's the problem. So I've been talking about this for a very long time. What Blizzard is trying to do with the Overwatch League is in direct conflict with what they're doing to balance the game. So the majority of players in the game are casual. There's nothing wrong with having a casual player base. If you want to balance the game around having casuals, then fine, go ahead and do it. But what Blizzard is trying to do is they want to have that casual player base, but they also want to have the biggest, most expensive, extravagant esports league in the history of ever, which is the Overwatch League. Those two things are like oil and water. They cannot mix. Now, just to give you an idea of how big and how expensive the Overwatch League is, all 12 of the teams had to buy in at $20 million each. That's $240 million right there. On top of that, it appears that Twitch bought the broadcast rights to the Overwatch League for $90 million. So that brings the total up to $330 million already. Now, we have to add on top of that everything that Blizzard has done, which is they bought this arena, they had to build it, get all the equipment, all that sort of stuff. They had to hire a whole bunch of new people to run it, to cast, to commentate, to do all of the editing, all that stuff behind the scenes. On top of that, they also had the massive advertising buys that they had. So Blizzard probably spent at least $200 million, probably a lot more than that. But I'm gonna say just about $200 million because that brings us up to a little bit over $500 million for our total. I tell you all that because I want to emphasize that the Overwatch League is not some throwaway project. It's a significant endeavor that Blizzard is trying to do. Now, let's look at the characters that were used in the first day of the Overwatch League. This is the problem, guys. This is what it looks like when you try to have a $500 million esports league where all the characters are balanced around the casual player. It doesn't work. Now, I've actually seen some pretty ridiculous arguments that this is good, that there's nothing wrong with this. Look at Symmetra. 0% pick rating. If you guys have a $500 million investment into something, do you really think that having one of your characters with a literally 0% pick rate with 0 seconds used is good? Because I certainly don't. Let's look at poor May. Only 0.3%, 54 seconds. May was probably used just to stall out one of the second points, and that was it. Torbjorn, 0.67. Moira, 0.8. Hanzo, 1.1. Sombra, 1.35. Doomfist, one of the most highly anticipated characters in the game, with a 2.5% pick rate. Bastion, 2.6, and that's probably only because of the whole pirate ship tactics. The next three, Reinhardt, Zarya, and Ana, are a little bit different because they actually are pretty strong characters, but they're not good enough right now to compete with what is currently the meta. And then you have Reaper and Roadhog rounding out the under 10% group. Guys, half of the roster in this $500 million league has less than a 10% pick rate, and 8 of them have less than a 3% pick rate. Now let's look at the opposite end. Where's Mercy? Oh, there she is. 95.89% pick rate. Diva, 92.6. Winston, 81.91. Zenyatta, 74.04. Tracer, 69.26. Guys, you have 5 characters that are taking up almost all of the time in this game. Now, I don't care how good the camera work is or how amazing the new skins look. When you have 5 or 6 characters that are taking up the overwhelming majority of the time, people are gonna get bored. And from a developer point of view, if you're in charge or you're responsible for the balance of these characters, and you look at this, and you see that only a very small group are actually being used in your company's $500 million league, where you have 8 characters with less than a 3% pick rate, where one of your characters has literally 0 seconds of playtime in your $500 million league, that is embarrassing. There's no other way to put it. Now, of course, metas are gonna come and go. You're never going to have every character with the same pick rate. It's just not gonna happen. But at the same time, this should not be happening either, and this definitely should never be happening. If one of your characters has literally 0 seconds of playtime, then Blizzard, you need to seriously reevaluate where that character is, because it's pretty much a bad place. So Blizzard has to decide. Either they continue balancing around the casual player, or they have to start balancing around their $500 million eSports league. You can't have both. And for the record, I don't care what anyone tells you, this is not good, this is not okay. This is bad. What do you guys think about the Overwatch League? Did you catch any of the games? And who is your favorite team that you're rooting for? Let me know down in the comments. Also, don't forget to check out my Discord server. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, all that stuff. The links are down below. Thanks for watching. Remember, always blame the controller, because it's never your fault. Also, special thanks to all my Patreon supporters for helping to make this all possible. If you'd like to see what kind of cool rewards you can get for supporting the channel, check the links on screen and down below.